great. This is going to be awesome, because I was good at it, right? And for the next 3 weeks, I didn't get one penny commission. So, I learned, and even though I worked just as hard every day, but that eventually led to me landing a job in Muncie with the mentor of my life. And it was an odd circumstance because I was looking around for a full-time job. And in the south side of Muncie, there was a restaurant called Rack's Restaurant. It was like a precursor to Arby's and such. And I loved that place, but they were looking for an assistant manager. And I thought, well, I'll work the restaurant business. I got to have a full-time job for my family. And so I had an interview one morning, and I was still selling commission because I couldn't do what I wanted. And I went over to this interview at Rack's, and it was like 9 o'clock in the morning before they opened, and a bunch of police cars were there and all this stuff. And the manager came out and said, "Hey, look, we can't meet today." He said, "We were robbed early this morning when when I was here," and he said, "We're just not opening, so we're going to have to reschedule." So, okay. So I looked on my client list for my sales, and there was a company just a couple blocks away that had bought something from us before. So I went over there and just stopped in. And as I was waiting in the office of the guy who owned the company, he got a call, and he took the call, and he was talking to somebody from an employment service, and he said, "Yes, I'm looking for someone." And he started telling them the type of person he wanted. And that person the type of person he wanted and the skill set he needed was sitting right next to him. And that was me. So when he got off the phone, I said, "Sir, you don't have to wait for her call. You don't have to wait for a response. I'm your person." So we talked, and I started. That was a Friday. I started Monday. And that single move changed the whole course of my entrepreneurial life because I started working for someone who was more entrepreneurial than I was.
Yeah.
And he believed in me, and he gave me opportunities. And I ended up working for him for 18 years. And it was a training ground like you could never get anywhere else. And he entrusted, when I first started, we did about $800,000 worth of business. This was a manufacturing company, and I led the operations. And by the time I left, within about 5 years, we were doing almost $10 million in sales.
Wow.
And I just kept pushing and pushing. And so we had a great relationship. So, and that led to more things. And, but I'll never forget what that man did for me. He just was an example of honesty, integrity, real entrepreneurial spirit. He taught me how to take care of a customer, how to love employees and make sure that you did them right. It wasn't about him. He told me a valuable lesson, and I try to tell people this too. He said, "Ted," he goes, "I've been very successful in my career." And he said, "You helped make me successful because you got these sales up like crazy." But he said, "One of the things that I do," and he said, "This is one thing I want to impart to you, is that for you to be successful and to be very successful, you have to make other people around you successful." Yeah. It's not about only me. It's about how I serve the people I work with. And I learned that in all the companies that I've owned and managed and such. That stuck with me from the beginning. And so that's a valuable lesson for a lot of people, because it's like you're climbing up that ladder and it's about me. Well, no, it isn't. It's about the journey upward with other people. So I've never known anybody to do it by themselves.
No. Yeah, I had a really good interview with a tech director at a school, and I said, what's some advice you would give to other tech directors? And they said very simply, make the superintendent look good.
Yeah,
that's your job.
Yeah, that's right.
And it wasn't that you're like praising that position, but it's like if you are doing that, they will make sure that you look good.
Yeah.
And doing that for other people. So